Busy. Nice to see bicycles rather than cars.
Yeah. Lovely.
We're starting off this week with the beautiful Shay. We're going to talk about Forrester Hall, which is now obviously a private home here on the top of up on Bellevue Hill. I'm delighted to say my own mother now told me about relatives John Torpy down in Clare met the beautiful Mary Davis here at a dance, and they're now married with lots of lovely kids and grandkids, and that would be the Davis of Davis Motors, part of that family. And also, she mentioned, I think it was Seamus Fitzpatrick used to play the accordion, and there was a fiddle player. Just Seamus lived up here, I think, up on the lane as well.
Yeah, the Fitzpatrick family,
yeah.
And good golfers as well. They played a lot of golf, yeah.
Now, the history of this, now, this was built apparently by, those who just basically weren't allowed into the golf club.
No,
kind of needed a place to go, was it?
Foresters. People called Foresters. They were community
they worked
based.
up in the woods, weren't they?
Well, I wouldn't be they'd be local people.
Right, but local. Foresters as in trade, as opposed to name. They were Foresters.
I don't know. I think they were farmed and they were around the country as well.
Okay, right, okay.
I was for the community based.
Right,
and.
Right.
Well, local people that had shows, the dances, and then when I was a young fella in the 60s.
So we'll head down because we're going to do another building as we walk down. We'll cover another one down here.
This was actually a dance hall.
Right. That's the thing now. I know. I was amazed when you mentioned this to me about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then I mentioned it around, and of course, people of a certain age remember it well and very fondly. Yeah. It was the place to go. It was the.
Well, they come from miles around to dance in it. This was called Dance Hall Hill.
Baboon.
It got a nickname.
Right.
Before my time now. That'd be before my time.
Are you sure?
Oh, yes. Well, I
thought you were timeless now. You could be any age. You got that bit of the vampire look about you.
I'm the timeless man.
Yeah, there you go.
I think I was a rabbit in Port man in the 15th century.
That explains a lot. That explains a lot.
That was the 15th century now.
That's why you're always nervous when you see somebody with a hunting cap.
Yeah, exactly. I do shiver,
Actually, we do a quick mention. We were standing here before now, up on what I know is Cherry's Brow, which is the hill up on Blackberry Lane. We were mentioning about the furrows, all the lines going right down on the actual hill,
well,
which can't be seen right now. But
there was an old historian years ago, a man that's dead now, and he thinks that it was the time of the famine.
Right.
And the higher hill, but Wicklow didn't actually suffer from the famine too much.
No.
But those little advantage points would be a high, so I think there was ridges right around the hill, as you can see. You can't see
which would have been from the ploughing and from planting of.
Well, natural people with picks, etc., manics or whatever. They'd get in and whatever they had to. Higher hill to get the advantage of the sun, I'd say. I'm not too sure about that.
Could be true. But I didn't realise that Wicklow wasn't affected by the famine, so we all remained nice and fat while the
well, it wasn't as bad as the west.
West of course. Yeah. Well, we had Joe Sweeney's. We were lucky. That kept us going. But yeah, with Forrester Hall, which as I said, my mum.
They were an organisation, local people.
Okay, well we'll keep moving now because we want to catch this other one. Yeah.
Now, whether they were.
Oh no, are you settling down for the night, are you? You're not camping there. Oh no, you're not. Okay.
Whether they were all local men.
Right. Because my mum's theory was that these were guys who worked up in the woods themselves, like worked up, cutting trees and all that. Maybe.
As you know, the word Forrester represent that.
Sure. And then there was that belief too that this was seen as a Catholics and Protestants went there, which was great. It was a community, a true community hall.
That's what back in the 50s and 60s.
Right.
People came from local villages and towns.
Sure. But that was also the truth that there was divisions, though. In that era, there was divisions between Catholics and Protestants. You'd have something like the ICA where,
I think people want to create their own divisions. It's all in the mind, really.
But that's true of all history, though. That's just everything from religion to tribalism is all man-made.
Symbolism, and you label people.
Right.
You label people. Put people into brackets.
Right.
I think those days are all gone now, I hope.
I hope so, yeah. Well, you've got lovely people like Trump and all that in the world. You know that there's no more labelism, there's no more divisions.
Well, I reckon...
You're a wise old man, Shay. You're a wise man. You know the way the wind's blowing. Tribalism's back with a passion.
I'd reckon Mr. Ed would do a better job.
I think he could.
He was the only horse in the world to ring up for his own
Well, a horse is better than a donkey, always.
Yes.
Yeah, they could do a better job.
He was
always.
very intelligent, Mr. Ed. Rang up for his own hay.
Okay, there you go.
What more do you
he
want?
could talk, man. Trump can hardly talk, so I think we're on a good one there. But with Forresters now, do you know kind of what era that would have become longer in use?
When I was a young lad in the 60s growing up.
The 1960s?
Well, I was only a young lad.
Right.
I remember dances in it. And then this great thing called electric guitar, you could hear it coming out.
Holy moly, that was the beginning of the end for music.
Jeez.
Holy moly.
Electric guitar in the village of Delgany, you know.
James Hendricks making a mess of rock and roll. Outrageous.
But people came from miles to dance in it.
Right.
Bray, Wicklow.
Now, would your own parents, would you say, have memory of it? I don't know whether they were.
My particular father came from Wexford. He was an Irish Army man.
Ah, right, okay.
He was 7 years in the medical corps.
Right.
My father was in the medical corps. He came out and he went into the hotel waiting business. And he met my mother. He was
We'll have to walk a little bit faster, otherwise this will be a 4-hour video.
Rosslare,
right.
County Wexford.
I'll let you go on the other side to be safe. And would he not have frequented Forresters, or was that later on for him?
Not that period, no.
Right.
He'd be working at the time. No, that'd be earlier.
Right. So, have you any memories yourself of it being active, like when you were a young man?
Well, they had
I don't know. You keep stopping. Do you want to get on will you get a skateboard or something? Let's go.
They had plays in it.
Planes? You wouldn't fit a plane in there.
Plays and concerts.
Right. Okay. And why do you think then that Forrester Hall no longer existed then at a certain point? Was it just that the community moved to television? There was cinema.
The people died that were looking after.
But they would have had kids. You know, there would have been always a need for a community hall.
The title itself weared out. You know.
Right. But I think I need to see that car. Look at that car. Holy moly. But I would think that any community, there is a shift obviously when cinema comes around, when television comes around, people live different lives, and that's when a facility in the town no longer is in use or is popular. So I would imagine something in that era would have superseded or taken over, because there'll always be young people.
In those days, people cycled. My mother herself cycled to Arklow to dances. Right.
Now
back in her day.
We should mention, we're going to cross over to have a quick look at Gameford St. Lawrence. We're doing 2 buildings this week. There's so much history around here. It's wonderful. Gameford St. Lawrence, which you will see, it's in behind these trees. Beautiful building. Has been
16th century.
16th century, all right. And I'm trying to remember now when the lovely family Gameford St. Lawrence has moved out. Was that 10 years ago? Was it?
Well, about 10 years. But you had people called good bodies lived in it.
Right.
Back in the 50s,
right across. 60s. Cross, Max. Now we'll have to move a little bit fast. That's a car that's moving. The good bodies. And that was the lovely lady who was heavily involved in the local community. She put on dances for the nurses, and she'd have fundraisers. I think that was was Mrs. Goodbody a little old lady, or
no? They were people of English extraction. I think they were nice people.
Right.
I'm just very.
Now this skip is ugly as hell, which is a shame, but we're going to have to go down the Blackberry Lane a little bit just to be able to see this building properly, Shay, because we can't really go into private property, but we can have a look from the road just to let people see the beauty of it.
It's supposed to be a hotel now. They're going to.
Well, this is Ronan, the developer, and obviously he's looking to make a killing.
It wouldn't be too bad if they keep the character of it.
Well,
and keep the gardens.
Now, I don't know what you're slowing down again, Shay. Do you need a hand?
Well, I have a pass.
Oh, there you go.
But as I say, if you could keep the character of the gardens, which is lovely,
right,
and there's some rare bushes and plants within that garden.
Sure. Well, there's no question it's a stunning building. There's no question that it's a great
16th century.
Yeah.
And as I say, Sir Walter Raleigh visited.
Right.
It comes under the term of.
You told me last week you had a lover there.
He had a lover.
You weren't that lover, were you?
No, I was a rabbit in Portmanny.
Ah, right, okay. You have enough loving going on already. You didn't need to be meeting any strange men with potatoes.
Yeah, I could come to the. But as I say, it was an old coach house.
Right.
Old coach house back in the 16th century.
Right.
And over time, it had several different people and families lived in it.
Yeah.
And when I was a young boy, I played in it because there was people in it, the gardener, and there were lovely people called Mars.
Okay.
And they were friends of my mother.
Right.
And I used to come across to Mr. Marr.
Okay.
Who's the gardener in it. That'd be the 60s.
Yeah.
And I come back to my granny and mother with a big bowl of apples and strawberries and raspberries, and the garden was
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Well, this is Blackberry Lane we're on now. We'll actually talk about there's a band hall in there as well, but you cannot see anymore.
Well, Delgany had a band.
Pure Sleeping Beauty. It's overgrown to the point where you can hardly see the building inside. But we'll have to do a little history on that at some point.
Yeah, but
that was a big part.
Delgany had a pipe band.
Now we'll go down to the river and we can climb in there. Actually, we can just climb into the small river. There's a little access and we can have a look up.
In here.
Well, I thought the river might be nice too, but I suppose we can go in this way. Yeah, we'll have a look inside here. The river is just down there where Max is snooping. But yeah, this is the lane I grew up on, so I'll be very familiar with not only the house, which is stunning, because as you come down the hill, it's what greets you first about the village. But there were a lovely family in here. Susie and John Gainford St. Lawrence lived in it when I was growing up in the 70s here and into the 80s. And sadly, John's no longer with us. And Susie recently moved from the area, but beautiful family and absolutely one of the most beautiful buildings, I think, for quite a few miles around here.
Period building, period 16th century.
That's fantastic, yeah. Now my mum, she babysat for the Gainford St. Lawrences, and she claims that Gainford St. Lawrences themselves would say that this house was definitely haunted. There's an old lady with, I think,
an old lady and a girl.
Yeah, and there's a man with a top hat apparently would appear. And
I still have an auntie still alive.
Right.
And she'd tell you a tale or two.
About this building?
But, yeah, she was babysitting in it too.
Right. Well, I think the ghosts themselves would be happy with the appearance now, because it has all the look of a haunted house ever since it was banged up, we'd say, or barred up, or what's the term when you lock a place up?
I think there's been a lot of vandalising done to it.
Yeah. Well,
kids, of course.
The way.
But it has
might
a
be
beautiful...
naughty, just take a little walk up closer to it, because I don't think we're really going to do any damage, and it's plain that we're not here for any...
Yeah, but that's not the point. Just
yeah.
The gardens are spectacular.
Yeah, well,
it's
in
in private hands now. Private hands.
No, the river is just there. That's a river we would have spent a lot of our childhood just playing in.
When I was a young boy, we used to walk from there to Bernie's Bridge, where the flyover is.
Right.
There was a walkway. We played there, and there was also one of those trees. There was a tree house in it. Belonged to I think his name was Tim Goodbody.
Okay.
The people in the 60s.
Right, okay.
It was marvellous, and I think around here there was a tennis court.
Yeah.
And,
I think just beyond, actually just over there now, just beyond those trees, I think the tennis court was sort of situated a bit further over. I think this was...
here.
Oh, you reckon it was there?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, because I remember coming into the river quite a bit, not kind of feeling it was a distance to the tennis court. But yeah, there was no question, a beautiful building.
I think there was supposed to be a road. See, this is where from when the ice melted.
Now, you don't want to walk up closer to you?
Not really, no, because
danger's
on the...
Are you frightened?
No, on the... What do you call it?
I ain't afraid of no goat.
No, I'm not afraid of any ghosts. I'm not. But as I say, when the ice melted in 10,000 years ago, it came down from the valley and created this valley. And some say that the earlier burials, graves by people were along the valley here. As the river got smaller and smaller over thousands of years.
Right.
So anywhere where there was a river, early settlers would move into it. So I suppose Delgany and people would have moved from the riverside up over centuries and thousands of years. I can hear a horse, my God.
Probably not a real horse, probably a ghost horse.
That's Mr. Ed now, because I told him I'm going to vote for him.
He heard the call. But then you would think maybe the burials had something to do with the possibility that there's a belief of ghosts here, that this would be, basically burial ground.
Well, actually, funny that we say it, because my auntie, who is still alive, auntie by marriage, married an uncle of mine.
I hope so.
She told me a story that she was babysitting, and one night as she slept and babysitting for the people of the house.
Right. This house.
All
right. Yeah.
And when she woke 2 or 3 in the morning, there was an old lady in the room in period dress.
Right.
Just standing.
Wow.
And to even talk about it, she's quite scared. She's late 80s now. She's still alive, but she always mentioned that her father was the gardener here. They lived in the house. He done all the gardening before the Mars arrived. Back in this, I'd say it was the early 60s.
Right.
But there was great history to it. And then there was supposed to be horse. You can hear hooves of horses.
Are you sure you just didn't hear them, and now you're thinking of hooves of horses? I heard them too.
No, you can hear. You can see the lady, a girl and a lady. I believe at one time there was people here at Gainsford, and he had friends, and when they arrived they went out to dinner in that evening. When they come back they couldn't get into the house, and as the night progressed they went around the surrounding buildings, the outhouses, etc., knocking on the windows. Then finally they went back to the front of the house. They looked in one of the windows and there was a girl and a woman sitting on the stairs of the house, and they couldn't get through. There was no response. So the next morning at breakfast they asked the owner of the house. That girl and lady and girl didn't respond to our knocking on the window, and they said there's nobody living down in that section of the house. So neither of the parties, the owner of the house, knew about this.
Squatters.
And well, they were in period dress or
fancy dress squatters.
Fancy dress squatters.
They're the worst type of squatters. You don't know what's going on with them.
Strange things are happening. Strange things
all the time.
That'd be a good name for a pop group.
I think so. Well, Strange Movements came out of Greystones. I think that one's nearly covered.
Strange Movements. But strange things are happening.
Well, we will.
It's 16th century period house.
Yeah. Well, we will. I'll take a few shots here now, just so people can see it. I know you want to stay here, and I can hold your hand if you want to come on.
No, we'll leave it at that now because it's in private hands now.
I know Ronan's got some heavies. He probably did have.
No, but what I mean to say is that it's been vandalised over the last maybe 10 years.
Of course. Well, anything that's left.
Yeah, and it has a period. But as I say, a hotel or a boutique hotel, whatever.
I think townhouses is the plan. The last sort of as with the Latouche, I think it's just the money from developers' point of view is just building a townhouse and having that sold, and that's it. And they get their big chunk of change.
A hotel in the village would be good, actually.
Of course, it would.
And period. If you could keep the period. The building as
well, I presume there's a preservation order on the actual building, but the problem is with developers is that they will wait until it's no longer, salvageable. I can't wait. It's a Sunday morning now. I can't get my teeth aren't in correctly.
But the gardens here were spectacular. This place in the 60s and 50s when I was a young boy. Yeah. The magnificent, and there's plants here, very rare plants and very rare bushes.
Sure. No, it's beautifully kept.
Whether they're still there or not, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I know that next week now we've got we're going to talk about the great Count Tolstoy, and if I know there's quite a few stories now we've been sort of flitting around, but we'll leave that as our headline story for next week because that sounds fascinating too.
He came in the early.
But we don't
60s.
Want to give too much away now because we will have our viewers appetite whetted. But I will go up and take a few shots of this. But both buildings, very very big part of Delgany, and we really hope this little beauty.
Delgany,
yeah. Well, I hope this building manages to be salvaged.